Welcome to Perspectives. I'm Bob Lubzelder, and this is our second week with George Peterson. He's the chairman of the Conneaut Port Authority. And there's so much going on. We were talking about some possible industrial expansion last week, and I wanted to get more into the area around the dock company, because my impression is that, for Conneaut has always had a beautiful port area, but it's kind of been neglected or whatever. People think of the lake, they think about Bridge Street in Ashtabula or Geneva on the Lake Strip or whatever. And Conneaut is sort of coming into its own now. What do you think about what's going on, the progress being made there?
Oh, I think there's a lot of progress being made, Bob. There's a lot of opportunity yet to be tapped into in Conneaut as in the port area. I mean, our whole objective with the port is how do we get more people there? And then, as a port authority, we have plans, we have objectives and goals that we're working toward. We have a whole list of things that we're working on. Some of the big items are, what do we do with the blue building over the hill?
There's a sign on there, right? It's saying it's available as a restaurant.
It is. It's available as a restaurant or other ideas. I mean, we're not just focused on a restaurant. We're open to other ideas with it. So one of the things that we're doing this year is we've applied for a planning grant through the Jobs Ohio. Mm-hmm. And we want to use that planning grant to look at the entire lakefront. What do we do down there? If you go down there on a nice, beautiful weekend when everybody's out fishing, you can't hardly find a place to park. And then you have the restaurant, the Breakwall Restaurant, and their thriving business. And,
yes,
and the parking over there is tough. The city of Conneaut has helped us this year with putting parking spaces along Broad Street Extension or out on Lagoon Road. But then you continue out on the Lagoon Road, and you can't find a place to park out there either. So part of that total lakefront plan has got to address our parking situation. We bring more businesses down there, or we bring more people down to the lakefront. Where are they going to put their cars, and how do they get around? So that's one of the things that's on that planning objective.
It's a good problem to have, though.
It is. It is. But it's also a deterrent for continued growth, right?
Yeah.
I mean, people come into town and they go over there and they can't find a place to park. They just stay in their car and they drive somewhere else.
Right.
We really want to keep them in Conneaut at the lake. So some of the things, but that's one of the things we have to address. But some of the other things that are on that planning grant is we right now we're looking at putting in another marina. You may have heard about this in the past. This has been on the Port Authority's agenda for at least 5 years, probably more like 10 years. But if you go to the west side along Naylor Boulevard, we've got that natural lagoon in there. We're looking at putting a marina over there. Mm-hmm. And then we also look at the existing marina. We have a waiting list on our existing marina. And over the last, 3-4 years, boat sizes that people are buying and using in the lake are getting bigger and bigger. So we have maybe one dock where we can put a 50-foot boat. So some of the boats that we want to look at for the new marina would be 50 feet, some even larger. I was talking to somebody today, as a matter of fact, and there's a yacht out of Erie that's 100 feet. And he's very limited in where he can go on Lake Erie, on the lakes.
Uh-huh.
So,
I wonder if he thought about that when he bought it.
Yeah, you have to wonder, don't you? So, but that's something else that we're looking at is putting a new marina in there with larger boats. We're working with Ohio EPA, ODNR, as well as the Army Corps of Engineers on what do we need to do to make that happen. So we're in the process right now of looking at a permit and trying to obtain that permit to be able to build that marina. Now, that's not a this year or a next year project. We may start over that period of time because the permit process is not simple and it's not cheap. So
double whammy.
It's going to cost us a few dollars to make that happen. So we're getting started on it. So the only way to get to the finish line is to start, right?
Absolutely.
So that's what we've got to do.
It would be nice.
Project.
Oh,
go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that it would be nice to get a few more restaurants in the area.
It would. And
go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say something like that. These larger boat owners are going to demand places to go. So we need to have some more restaurants, some more facilities for them to be able to use. So we're hoping that we can help along with the city and the Conneaut Foundation and the Insight Advisory Group to be able to develop that whole lakefront. What does it look like, and how do we support that going forward?
What about, I had Jim Hockaday, the city manager, on a couple of weeks ago, and I was talking about the status of the proposed hotel at the Lakeview Park, and he said that COVID has kind of caused problems with funding for hotels everywhere, including a possible one out at I-90 and Route 7. So do you see that as a project that's going to come eventually, and what kind of an impact is that going to have?
Well, I think it will have a big impact on the city of Conneaut. It also has a big impact on our waterfront because if we have that marina that's supporting 50-foot boats, the clientele that we're bringing in is going to also be drawn to the hotel, assuming that there's going to be restaurant and entertainment and stuff like that goes on there. So those people want to go up the hill and be able to go to that place. I mean, currently we have Breakwall, we have Sparky's, we have Charlie's. There's more coming. If you look at what's happening down there in the harbor area today with some of the private businesses that are starting. Yeah,
there's hammering all the time. I go through there.
Yeah. So and those places are starting to really look nice. So it's gonna grow, and I think that a hotel is just going to be just one more thing that will come to the area. I think it will happen. But COVID has put a cramp on a lot of things. I mean, even us. I mean, it brought us to a stop early in the year. Now, I didn't want to let go of any of our ideas and our enthusiasm about our growth. But we still had to be focused on the COVID thing, which brought a whole new set of problems.
Not just here, but everywhere.
Everywhere, absolutely.
Well, there have been problems with COVID, like when we were talking to the city manager a couple of weeks ago. He pointed out that there is some expansion going on in Conneaut. Despite COVID, it's not the big industries and whatever, but like small businesses going in, working out on Park Avenue, getting those buildings ready. And you see the new Mexican restaurant going in where Perkins was in the Conneaut Plaza. So, that bodes well for the area.
It does. It helps. I mean, one of the things we're looking at, too, is I don't know if you or your listeners have been to the Tionesta Marketplace, but one of the things we're looking at is doing something like that on the dock front, is because there are a lot of small entrepreneurs here in Conneaut that would like to do something like that and help support Conneaut as well as help bring things to the lakefront area. So we're looking at that right now, and we're looking very seriously at it. What does it look like if we were to set that up on the lake?
Well, you got to have more things for people to do.
Absolutely. Especially now when you want to get out, you can't get out into big crowds, and you can't be all grouped together. So we need to find more things for people to be able to do when they do get out.
and attract them to the lakefront here.
Right. The place that, the other thing too is our sandbar, right? Very popular place.
Mm-hmm.
I was not a very popular man this past summer because we tried to open it on the 4th of July. We did, but we tried to confine it to such a small space, and as popular as it is, it became unsafe for vehicles and pedestrian traffic. So we ended up having to close it back down very quickly. And it wasn't because it was fear of it had nothing to do with COVID, but it was fear of people being injured while they were out there. We weren't charging, so it really wasn't anything to us. But we just needed to we had to err on the side of caution.
Right. Sometimes people didn't behave themselves too.
That happens. And especially when you get so many people crammed into a small area at a time when we weren't even supposed to be that close together. So, and I got no pressure from the health department. It was just something that we decided that we had to do at that point.
Yeah, be a little proactive there and taking things.
Yeah.
What is about the building, used to be beverage store across from Sparky's?
Yeah, that's owned by the Conneaut Foundation.
Right.
I'm not real sure what they're planning on doing with that. I think they're looking at marketing it and how they're going to market it and what kind of businesses they want to attract. They recently purchased from us the property that was right across the street from it, and then down on Harbor Street, there's 6 lots on Harbor Street. So between Broad, the corner where the old Faith Lutheran Church used to be, over to Harbor Street, and then south on Harbor Street, they recently purchased all those lots from us. And you see their sign out there. They're looking for businesses for that as well.
Do you think that we've got about a minute to go, do you think that the rebirth of the harbor area in Conneaut, D-Day, had anything to do with it as far as attracting the people to the area?
Well, I think it's brought more people to Conneaut. They know where Conneaut is, obviously, because of that D-Day effect. But I don't know that it's a sustainable business proposition, the D-Day event. But it does bring more people to the area, so they know where Conneaut is.
Yeah, and I was thinking maybe people would see it and think, well, this would be a nice place to take the family when there aren't 100,000 people around or whatever.
Bill, Bob, I'll tell you, just I had a little Airbnb here in town for a while, and the people that came here, it was amazing how in awe they are of Conneaut. The first year I had the Airbnb was actually still D-Day last year. Actually opened it like the week before, and it filled up for the whole summer. And then even this past summer I had it filled almost all summer. Recently sold it, but the people that came were mostly from other places. This summer I had people from Indiana. The first summer I had a family from New York City, and the way they found Conneaut is they just went down through a map and saw this place, and they said, "Yeah, that's where I want to go." And so we, and when they came here, we were able to tell them the different things that they could do. We tried to keep them focused in Conneaut, but there's. And it made me think, too, is we need more things like this for them to do.
Right.
They wanted to go for a boat ride. Well, you can't do that here in Conneaut unless you go and on a fishing boat or something like that, a charter boat. So there's just more things for them to do when they come to town.
Right. We are out of time. But
sorry.
No, that's okay. George Peterson, Chairman of the Port Authority. Looks like lots coming up in Conneaut. Thank you for being here.
Hey, you're welcome, Bob. Thank you.
I'm Bob Lebzelder on Perspectives.